And yeah, we can start. Thank you everyone for dining in. This is the first of the three workshops within the framework of BEM Builders, which is actually the first one being the Metaverse and architecture of the event, part of the framework created by BEM Builders, which they will introduce afterwards. Here, this Metaverse architectural studies is a framework that is with the idea of rethinking the Metaverse experiences and understanding what is actually achievable and why we have to rethink what everyone has been maybe doing in the past. So I'm happy to be moderating this conversation between BEM Builders, which are and will introduce themselves, but amazing builders in the space, as well as the Sandbox, which is here represented by Mathieu, who I
hello everyone.
Cannot introduce more, but yeah. So I'll let the guys from BEM Builders introduce themselves, and Mathieu after that.
So, thanks, Ben and Metacircle. Yeah, very exciting. That's a series of 3 workshops. Today, the focus will be the metaverse and architecture of the event. Just a quick flashback what we do. So BEM Builders, we're a metaverse experience factory. So we focus on developing, thinking, creating, and integrating experiences in the virtual world. Today, we're very excited because we're going to introduce exclusively a new project that will be hosted. And overall, the idea here is to introduce a research that we have done and concluded by Manifesto. It's called the Manifesto of Anti-Gravity that Quentin will introduce. This is a result of several years of developing virtual world experience. Today, we believe that all of this work we have done and produced help us to understand is a good experience, and we try to just make rules about it. Rules, not saying that they are the only rules to need code, but more as an opportunity for builders in the futures and metaverse platform as well to align with these rules and to see how we can make it better. We all heard about bad experiences where nobody was in, experiences that makes you being frustrated or just not excited at all. We believe that there is a certain way of building up an experience, and this is not only something that happens today. This an overall evolution since the beginning of video games and so on, and the fact that we develop experiences on a daily basis make us one of the best to share this manifesto. So I will let maybe Mathieu introduce also himself. After Quentin will jump in the manifesto and introduce more about it.
Thank you, Neal. Welcome, everyone. So I'm Matt. I'm a part of the Sandbox. Maybe a few words. I've been working in the tech industry for the past 16 years, including 12 at Google and YouTube. And I moved to the Sandbox 4 months ago to develop the ecosystem of partners and professional builders, studios, agencies like BEM Builders, which is one of our partner here. For those who don't know the Sandbox is a virtual world where you can experience different type of game experiences in different worlds. At the moment, we've got more than 4 million account credits on the platform. We are still in alpha, which means that we are not fully open to the public. So you can experience the Sandbox during seasons, so a couple of weeks where the platform is open to experience different seasons. We've got more than 400 brand and IPs like Snoop Dogg, Adidas, Gucci, the Smurf, Walking Dead, and so on, where you can experience and immerse yourself into these type of brand and IPs ecosystem. I'm super happy to be here and to discuss more about the metaverse experience.
Yep. Thank you, Mathieu. Thank you, Neal. I'm really happy to be there to talk to you about architecture and the virtual world. And indeed, as you told Neal, today I will present you the rules of the manifesto and where they come from. This manifesto does not come from nowhere. It is drawn from lessons of a last project, as well as from the longer observation of the evolution of the user interfaces. And we're gonna go through different points as you can better understand how this idea came from and appropriate yourself the concept around anti-gravity architecture. So while creating a manifesto for anti-gravity architecture, let's start. Let's start with the interfaces. HMI, which stands for Human Machine Interfaces, was such a big thing when they appeared for the first time to a large public. We were not only scientists or military men, and HMI were kind of a revolution, especially in the way it could help us to live experiences through digital. Here on the right, you have like an interface built by Xerox. Looks pretty nice. It was one of the first really convincing interfaces, and they opened the path to many other one competitor, like for example, Apple. They stole a lot of in China from Xerox. And in few years, computer becomes like a major support for video games, but the graphics was in 2D, and they were not very immersive, but it's still a good starting point. We were still in a representation of the world who tries to simulate reality by creativity. And somehow, perhaps we need to return to that because it was quite cool. I don't know if you remember this game, but I spent tremendous hour on it. It was really awesome. And we jump quite fast to 3D, and here you have like Castle Wolfenstein, who is considered almost as the first good attempt to an efficient 3D experiences, but in fact, it was what we call fake 3D. But what interests me the most inside of these pictures is the fact that we introduce a camera and the point of view as a major component of the experience. We really introduce the first-person view and also the third-person view, which is a point of view of someone like viewing the scene from inside. So actually, we don't move only a character inside a flat space, but we are moving a camera, our eyes like through the one of the character we are playing. And now, when we make video games or experiences, moving a camera is not an option, but it is almost an obligation. And that leads us to design games and experiences for this purpose. So more than a camera, and I promise I won't make you like a full class about video games because it's not the point today, but more than a camera and the point of view, we gain a lot of interaction, passing from 2D to 3D. Game conception evolve a lot with that, and now we have a lot of rules and a lot of knowledge on how we build amazing experiences in video games. So, and to make the bridge with our topic of today, architecture, you need to understand that crafting a nice experience, both for the camera and for the interaction, can't be possible without having a good buildings and suitable architectures for your needs. For example, you don't build the same architecture for Assassin's Creed than for Mario Kart. They don't serve the same purpose, and that's what the topic about the manifesto. And for sure, if you want to make like true to reality architecture, you can do it, but you will face, depending on the metaverse you are experimenting on, different issues, from the difficulties to move or difficulties to interact and to boredom, for example. So each platform has specificities. On movement, for example, some force the user to stick to gravity and to walk, and others let the user fly above the ground, or others give the permission to teleport yourself. For example, here in Spatial, it's a screenshot I've taken like hours before, and here in Spatial, for example, you really have to use your mouse to move, and the teleportation is one of the main way to move because the space are large and walking took time, and all the stuff are not all the time suitable for walking, for example. So we need to remember each time we are building an experiences that is a combination of a way of seeing the world, your eye plus a device, the device that you use, like a mobile, a VR headset, or a computer, and the combination of the device functionality and the functionality allowed by the platform. So these two couple of stuff help us to really like focus on how we can make good experiences. To illustrate what I'm saying right now, we could take the good example of the print. For example, when digital become a huge point of contact for press publisher, they really need to transform not the meaning of their news, but the way to interact with it. They change the architecture of their content and challenge the way to access it through the functionality allowed by mobile for you. For example, you have like picture of the Guardian, and for me, they have made a beautiful work for that. They have like a very good like newspaper, and the website is good as well. And they not only challenge the meaning of the news, but the format. And that's what we do inside of digital experience, for example. So in fact, finally, we need to define new rules for designing virtual spaces. And more, we see growing the UGC, user-generated content, and the parametric games generated by algorithm. And we need to define a strategy to maintain the quality and coherence through all the experiences built and generated. So that's a bit a point for the manifesto too. We will see, like, I think in 5 or less years, like fully generated games by like an AI or algorithm. And we need to put like, a frame around it. For writing this manifesto, we gave a look at other manifesto made in the past. And for example, we were a lot inspired by Archism, which were like a group of architects, Italian architects. We do great like reflection about architecture and city, and especially by their concept of non-stop city. So that was just like a history point about like the story of manifesto in architecture. And so we have imagined by the intermediate of MAS, Metaverse Architecture Studies, a manifesto with, for the moment, only 5 rules. We have designed it to be collaborative and to be augmented by the members of MAS. And now I will explain you a little bit more what are these 5 rules. So it is the 5 rules illustrated by Adrien, who is in the room today. And these 5 rules, for sure, they are not dogmatics. We don't want it to be like rules to follow like straightforward. They are more like kind of a guidance to build inside of the metaverse. And they have no ordination and precise ordination between them. So the first one is gravity should be a choice, not a norm, obviously. When you're designing an experience, some platforms have gravity, some that don't have, and that's a super huge point to tackle when you have to design it. And the second one is architecture must be an event at every moment. When you enter like a room in reality, sometimes just the space is enough to make what you have to do. But in the virtual experience, sometimes space needs to be a little bit more. It needs to guide you, it needs to entertain you all the time. And the third one is light and time are object of creation. As the same as gravity, you can choose all the time will be spent in your metaverse, like having like an experience where every movement goes super fast or super slow. And it's the same exactly for the light. For example, you could choose to have night experience, light experience, and they become obviously like materials to build with. The fourth experience is the real and the digital are linked by technology, and that's take place in the parametric games I was talking to you just right before. And I think there is something huge to understand in a way we can connect. For example, the level of rain and the way my building could interact in digital world. And the last rules is the code and programs are material. In certain games, you have the possibility to script what you do, especially in the Roblox or the Sandbox, and you can script action. And this action could take place like an element of the architecture by itself. So you know, share with me the fact that architecture is a key component of the user experiences of the metaverse, and all this is largely enabled by the functionality available in some platforms. And today, yeah, we are lucky because we have Mathieu with us, and I hope this is going to tell us a little bit more about how the Sandbox is oriented towards the creator. And I think it will explain us how they provide tools for designers to create like amazing experiences as we do. So thank you, Mathieu, and I will let you the floor, take the floor.
Thank you, Quentin, for the presentation. Yes, definitely creators are core to the Sandbox. Why? If we take a step back, I truly believe that we are in a turning point in the history. We are in turning point because for the first time in history, digital natives are the norm. They are more digital natives than non-digital natives. So digital natives represent more than 50% of the total population globally on the planet. And why it matters? Because those digital natives are really into evolving in a digital world we are talking about now. The gamers are not, in their rooms, as Quentin was mentioning before, playing weird games. Gamers represent more than 3 billion people globally. So it's a global movement, and people are used to now evolve in this ecosystem of digital worlds. Coming to the creators, this digital native population is used to create things, is used to create contents. They are not passive content users or consumers, but they are proactively creating elements. And actually, there is a study showing that 75% of the Gen Z wants to be a professional creator in the future. So could be not only on obviously video games, it's broader than that. It could be on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, etc. But what is interesting is the fact that they feel creators. So they feel that they want to create, and they are planning their professional work, professional job towards these creators. So the only thing with that is for the first time, those creators are able to actually own what they create, sell what they create because of the blockchain. So looking at this opportunity for creators, we'll see in the near future so many different projects evolving in this ecosystem. So our mission at the Sandbox is really to empower this creator generation to build new format experiences based on digital ownership. And as you can see, we are building on those massive trends around the gaming we just talked about, around the creator economy, the creator generation, because the Sandbox is fully open to any creators with tools which are in no code. We are going to talk about later on. So everyone can create assets, can create experiences without being an engineer or developer. And finally, what you create, you can sell it directly on the Sandbox, but you can sell it also on a secondary market on other platforms like OpenSea and so on. Maybe we can show a little video.
Yes, Mathieu, I will pass the slide. I will pass the slide for you. So don't hesitate to tell me when I need to move to the next.
Okay, perfect. You don't have the sound.
I'm not hearing the sound yet.
no big deal. I can do the voiceover. Obviously, with the sound, it's better because it's more immersive. But you can have a taste of what the sandbox looks like. What is interesting is that as it's an open platform where everyone can build asset and experiences within the sandbox, as you can see, you've got a lot of different brand and IPs, so it's really reflecting the pop culture and the Web3 culture. So you've seen the Schmerz, you've seen the Walking Dead, you've seen Atari, but also you've seen more Web3 brands like the World of Women. You've seen also the Bored Ape and so on. So it's really reflecting the Web3 culture and more broadly the pop culture. If we go to the next slide, you will see a video presenting our tools. So we've got two different tools for builders. One which is really yes, you can launch the video, Quentin, if you want. One is really around creating the assets. Assets could be like, as you see here, an avatar or a palm tree or a car, etc. So those are the assets you use within the games to create your experience, or the assets you can sell also to users who want to evolve in those experiences. And then you've got another tool called Game Maker, which is here to really create the experience you want to propose to the users, the players. So that's where you create your world based on the assets. You design your game, the levels, the quest, how to move from a quest to another one, and so on and so forth. So those two tools are available to anyone. So as you can see, you can create with no code, and it's really here to empower this generation of users who like to play, in Minecraft type of games, where the users are also the creators. And once again, I think the first time what is interesting is we own their assets, sell their assets, buy their assets, and create a new creator economy around this digital world.
And what are the, Mathieu, maybe you can give some insights on what maybe are the most used tools for brands if a random brand wants to get involved. Obviously they have those no-code tools that are easy to apprehend, but what are the main journey users that they like to create, little mini games you mentioned, etc.? Probably depends on the brand themselves, but
yes. So at the moment, we've got more than 400 brand and IPs in the sandbox. So obviously, each brand developed its own experience, its own world. What is interesting is that we see kind of two types of approach. One is really around linking what you propose in the sandbox, your strategy being, or Gucci is doing, and we've got example later on around that, which is basically aligning what you are doing in real life, for example, in pop-up store for Gucci's and things like that, and translate that into digital worlds, adding more elements because obviously it's more entertaining. You've got games, you've got quests, you can, as you mentioned before, you can twist the architecture, you can twist a lot of things in digital, what you cannot do obviously in real life. So you are enhancing the experience you propose in real life with those digital immersive experience. And two is creating something that you cannot propose in real life. So that's, for example, the Snoop Dogg approach. Obviously, Snoop Dogg has massive fans around the world who would love to, to go to Snoop Dogg house, but for obvious reasons, fans cannot go there. So Snoop Dogg decided just to recreate his mansion with the recording studio, the swimming pool, the casino inside. So recreating the Snoop Dogg world where fans can immerse themselves into the Snoop Dogg world with twists once again that you cannot have within the real world. So obviously you take a casino, which is maybe 200 miles away, and you put it to the swimming pool and you can create quests around it. So what is interesting is what Quentin was mentioning before is that the digital also enhance what you can do also in real life. Obviously, real life brings a lot of elements you cannot have in digital, but it's interesting also to see that digital can bring a lot of things that you cannot experience in real life. So those are the two type of approach.
Yeah, and
I've got a few numbers. Yeah, go for it, Benjamin.
No, yeah, I think it's interesting to see how those brands, because the natural, I'll say, behavior would be as a brand to try to recreate things that either exist or have been seen, whereas the exercise actually of emancipating from what is actually just going towards life duplicates and experiences that are just duplicates of life, but it's quite a challenge for those brands, and it just makes me linked to what you guys also at BEM Builders are doing. So I don't know what regarding this architectural studies, how to emancipate from that content. Do you know what are the tools, what are the mindsets that brands and creators should have in this aspect?
I just put a stop on the slide because Mathieu probably have some numbers to show you, but
Yeah.
I think I will just take a few slides more just to illustrate what we're gonna say. But for example, when you see at this image, there is something that really shocked me, and I think it is shocking you too. Is that the fact that I don't especially need to sit it to a desk, and even more the concept of the desk is super strange because sometimes you don't have nothing to put on, and there is no surprise if I told you that you won't write stuff on a paper on this kind of digital experience. And Benjamin, to make the bridge with your question, is for me that's the point with making not especially true to the reality all the time, but creating more like on purpose interaction, and the fact that sometimes reproducing reality is just for it's just like I would say a bad idea sometimes and somehow. And for example, this is a screen capture about a tool I use all the time, which is called Miro, for example. And trying to recreate a work session in digital space is super hard. And sometimes like software do it like perfectly. And if you want to have this kind of fluidity and the quality of the interaction you could have on Miro, you need to work really hard. And this is for me one of the challenge of this kind of multiverse experiences. But I don't know, Mathieu, if you share it to me. Oh, Neal, sorry.
No, I think Adrien will explain further, Benjamin, and to everyone, the important details that will make you think an experience adapted to virtual worlds compared to in real life. Because some specificity that probably you don't have conscious about, the fact that you don't move a body, but you move your eyes only, the fact that there is no gravity as a must, but more as a choice. These kind of rules that actually is published in the manifesto help us build experiences adapted to the virtual world. Maybe we let Mathieu finalize some data, and after we discuss about this kind of event of how to create event in the virtual worlds compared to the in real.
Yes, sure, with pleasure. So to give you a few numbers, as mentioned in the introduction, we've got 4 million account created in the Sandbox. It's a global, obviously it's a global ecosystem. So as you can see, it's pretty much distributed around Asia, Europe, North America, and LATAM. It's interesting also to see that it's a misconception that the players are very young. As you can see, most of our users 18 to 44. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we lost you
Yeah.
for a second here, but you're back now.
Okay.
The number is crazy.
Yes, and if you go to the next slides, you can see that during season, so it means that for a few weeks we open the game, the platform. We had more than 17 million visits and 360,000 players. And people play in average 1 hour and 20 minutes per day, which is obviously massive. So that's why also we see a lot of brand and IPs joining the Sandbox as it's open, because of this enormous engagement on the platform. So to answer also your question, Neal, on how to create experiences for brands. Obviously, you need to have a few ingredients, few elements. One, you need a land in the Sandbox to create an experience. Two, you have to really think in the Web3 and Metaverse mindset. So, which means that you have to empower the community. So it's pretty common to see brand and IPs doing game jam. So basically opening their experience to propose to the creators to build their own experience with ideas. So that's also really the philosophy around Web3. And there is also a massive work towards the script writing. So everything that you produce has to be super creative, super entertaining for the end users. So you have to think about gaming experiences. You have to think about as you create a film or video games, you create an experience here. So in investing in the script writing and how you are going to make the users, the players through their avatar evolve in this ecosystem is obviously super important. I've got few example here afterwards. You can move forward. I think we can take. Yeah, you can move forward. The next slide, yes, the one of Gucci. I feel it's quite interesting. You can launch the video at the same time. There is, I guess, we don't have sound, but what is interesting is that so Gucci has launched a brand called Gucci Vault. Basically, it's their pop-up store. They are having across the globe. So they're having pop-up stores in Paris, Milan, in Tokyo, etc. in London, and they are proposing a specific environment. So visually, environment industry. You've seen skateboards, you see motorcycles, you see cars, etc. And they create also specific elements with artists. So unique piece of luxury goods you can buy in those in real life venues. And they decided to propose the continuity of those experiences in Sandbox. So you recreate exactly the same look and feel with the same music and environment, but you add more a gaming experience, quite experience within this ecosystem. So it's a continuity of what you have in real life to what you have also digitally, but you enhance that with more entertaining experience. So it's quite interesting to see how this type of experience are really engaging people. We spend quite a lot of time exploring, doing quests within those type of experiences. Also to add on your comments, Neal, on how to create experiences in the sandbox, there are two types of possibilities. One is being part of a season. So this means that we've got a lot of different experiences. The last season we had 100 experiences. So you can be part of those experiences. And obviously there is kind of a global movement because there are rewards for all the players who can own and earn sand. Or you can also create specific events between seasons where you have your
Yeah, we just lost you, Mathieu.
Okay, we don't
battery probably
the sound.
Headset.
Yeah, we can't hear you for the moment. Mathieu, we don't hear you. It doesn't work.
He knows he's probably changing his headset because I think he lost the battery on it.
Maybe we can go on a tour of the villa, trying to illustrate a little bit, or waiting for Mathieu. Yeah, is it good for you, Mathieu? Allez, come on. Okay. Okay. We were asking you just before. Why are the events in the Metaverse different from those real?
Exactly, but maybe this is something we continue with Mathieu, and in the meantime we do a quick exclusive visit of the villa, and then we jump back onto events, if okay.
Allez, come on.
Cool. So guys, quite exciting because that's the first time officially we are showing around the villa. I think that's the good negotiation skills of Ben and Metacircle that give us the opportunity, but quite exciting to share about it. So you understand that the Sandbox is making everything possible for builders to create this kind of event. You understand now that we approach the idea of an architecture as an event. And by event, I don't mean a show, a music show, a concert. Event means anything that happens in a virtual world could be an event for you. Any moves, anything you see, you look, any interaction, it's an event. There is no reason for you to be in a space where you just contemplate because you don't have the same feeling in the virtual world. It's your avatar through the screen. So except your eyes and your view, there is no other feelings and especially no other senses. So this Villa Oblique, inspired by the architecture, the L'Oblique from Claude Parent, the French architect, it's an overall architectures completely based on the manifesto's rules. So this is the first time we use these rules to make an architecture. And this is more than just a space. This is an overall environment. Here is a 1 minute video that quite sum up the villa. And after, Adrien will introduce you some specific focus of the villa to connect them with the manifesto rules. This villa, and we're very proud of this, is exclusively hosted on the Sandbox, and that's why we have voxelized everything so it fits the Sandbox art direction. But here is a 1 minute quick look of the villa.
And we still don't have the sound, so we can comment a little bit what you see now. So there is many point of view and trying to have like a lot of elements moving. And according to the rules of the manifesto, we try to make an architecture that is always like a surprise. So you will see it. Adrien will present it just next before, but there is a lot to do inside of the experience, and we try to take profit about all the functionality and all the constraint as well about the Sandbox, because sometimes constraints are really like creative. So yep, I will let Adrien soon explain you all this.
Yeah,
Adrien, I let you the floor, man.
Yes, so let me introduce 3 rules we illustrated in this villa. The first one is that each stage of the journey is an element of surprise. You can go in the next
slide.
Yeah. The next one, please. Yes.
Took just a few seconds.
I think the ways and paths should be playful, and as we see here, we can make like a platform game to go from a point A to a point B. You can go to the next slide. Yes, it's the example that where we see the visitors who can jump over the platforms.
To reach the goal, yeah.
Adrien, he told me, you know, Neal, a staircase in the virtual world doesn't make sense. My avatar, it can jump, it can fly. So why to have staircase to move up and down? He said, if you need to go somewhere, you need to make it exciting. You need to make it as a gaming experience, as an event, basically.
Yeah. And more of that, I will say that stairs are just boring in virtual spaces because they don't help you to do full experience.
Same as sofa.
Then we think that we don't need to focus only on horizontal activities and make vertical paths. So here it's an example how we can go from the top to the bottom of the building using this vertical space.
So the manifesto we've published is called the Manifesto of Anti-Gravity. And this is to maybe Benjamin answer your question earlier, how to think different in the virtual world. But first of all, you need to consider that gravity doesn't exist. So you decide. And because your avatar will not be hurt if it jumps from very high, you can actually make them move as much horizontal way as vertical way. And the fact that there is an anti-gravity basically rule in the virtual world, you can bring more movement that in the physical world you will never be able to do. And so because the movement is different, then the architecture should be different. And that's how you think different.
One other thing very important, that we imagine and design some assets flying in the skies that indicate some new spaces, new point of interest through this grid, for example, that show us some new ways, new elements of surprise, following like an arrow punctuated with this grid.
What we want to create is like potentiality in the way to move. Sometimes you just see something 4 meters away and you want to reach it, and you have many like paths to join it. And this kind of versatility into the path create like diversity and a way to interact with all the architecture, all the map, and all the gaming as well. It's more about potentiality than really like drawing paths on the ground and let the people do whatever they want.
And for example, the lines draw like a perspective that creates some interest. Okay, we can. The second rules I want to show you here is the perpetual discovery through architecture. So for that, it's important for us to make some display in volumes, like in here, that it should be like a big frame at the top of the building to invite for the discovery of the NFT art collection. Then yes, you can go to the next slide. We design every details, every new animals that doesn't exist in the real world. We create more than 20 types of vegetations to make the magical inside the landscape. And here it's the point of view to see everything around you in the space.
And as we told you before, point of view are really like one of the major things we aim to do into our experiences, because we talked before about the fact that we are moving not especially a body but a camera, and point of view are just all the meaning of the camera, like having and taking advantages of the landscape and the beautiful landscape we can create in this kind of world.
And I think these examples of the screenshot shows that no matter where you are, there is always something moving. Why? Because it's not because there will be a sound, it's not because there will be a smell, it's not because someone will touch you. You don't have this feeling, you don't have these senses. So you need to have something that drives the curiosity of your eyes to actually make your avatar going somewhere. Because your avatar just staying there doesn't have any sense, doesn't make any sense. So here you can see the architecture is moving, there is element, assets, everything is always in motion.
Then we have designed some secret places, hidden places under the sea, and we think that the visitor should find all the clues to discover them. So maybe follow. He will need to follow an animal, or a plant, or a volume inside under the sea. And here is the example of a gallery under the sea. Yeah.
And yeah, that's the perfect example about the features that the sandbox allows us to put into our architecture, and the gamification is always part of the process of creating a good architecture. For example, like with some quests required to have like secret spaces, or required to have like a top of the mountain point of view, and that's the connection we can do between gamification, features, and architecture as well, and gaming assets.
Then we need to make the surprise through new type of things, new animals, new colors that give lots of amazing atmosphere. And here is the entrance to enlighten the landscape and give a little point of view of the villa from the beginning. Then light and time are object of creation. So as part of the landscape, the animals moving and making shadows, it's very important to make some relief through the architecture. You can go to the next slide. We design some assets to make moving shadows and create like a temporality inside the experiences, and then you can make a different duration of your experience through the speed of each elements moving.
And more of that, we can imagine that some part of the building could be like set and designed to appear in some period of time, and not especially in other. And time is all the time like a factor to make a new surprise inside your assets. And we could even imagine having an experiences running through a year or an entire season, for example, and that's it could move all the time, every day, every hour, every minute, and having something really like truly like lively, and having like lively buildings and lively architecture. So that could be really like interesting to create something that really take part of the running of the time and the light, for example.
Light is also a material, like here in the dark and the night mode, and yes, they create some amazing atmosphere and new colors, etc.
Yeah, and more, Adrien, I would add that the fact that light could be as well like an element of UX design. For example, guiding your users into the dark with some lighting and lighted flowers could be like a way to show the path and everything and show clues for the quest. We all the time need to think how can the architecture and the assets we create can be part of a good UX flow. And that's what we do all the time. We try to challenge it all the time. For example, this flower, they are indicated that something is happening into the gameplay and we need to reach it and try to catch it and to find it to make a clue appear, for example. I think we reached the end of the tour of the villa. Maybe Neal, I'll let you the floor, or Benjamin.
Yeah, let's go
maybe.
back. Let's go back. If Ben, do we have just 5 more minutes and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
go
we
back
can.
to the
Of course,
discussion
we
on?
started 10 minutes late, so let's take the
Okay,
time.
cool. So
Of
let's go
course.
back to the discussion how we create events that are different in the physical world and in the virtual world. Because again, as you all know, entering a building with 4 walls, a roof, staircase, and a sofa, this is good in the physical world. You have canapes and drinks, but in the virtual world, doesn't make sense, and you get bored, right? And this happened too many times, and I'm sure you've heard about all of these big experience in the metaverse that had like 4 users, 5 users, and nothing happened. And that's actually how we try with our manifesto to help through these rules to shape a great experience. But I'm happy to discuss Quentin, Mathieu, especially because with the
Yep.
Sandbox, I believe you guys have hosted many events. How do we make events different?
I will say first thing is that the fact that there is sometimes gamification, but sometimes when you lost the objective of making a game, because you know the scenario of a game and all the narratives around help to drive focus and attention. But when there is no game, for example, when there are, for example, social hub, what are you doing? And I think architecture is part of the response of that. And maybe Mathieu, I know you are focused on mainly like making good gaming experiences with a lot like of interaction inside, but when the people don't have nothing to do, like socializing, how do you help them to socialize? That's a big question for me when I'm drawing an experience, actually.
Yes, definitely a good questions. To answer in one word is creativity. So once again, I think we have to understand that people joining these type of experiences are here to experience a new type of entertainment. So entertainment is a true job, and you have to think about all those aspects. One could be, as you mentioned, Quentin, Neal, the architecture. One could be the narrative, how you tell your story. So the script writing is definitely super important. Another one is definitely what we call the level design. So how do you create game with quests so users and players can evolve within your experience because you do specific things, you discuss with specific people, you unlock specific elements within your architecture environment. And obviously also what you experience just visually is super important. I think what you are proposing here is just unlocking the full potential of what digital experience can provide by unlocking the barriers to this type of creativity and just thinking about elements where you don't have any constraint anymore. I think that's where you start to propose definitely an entertaining experience here.
And I think, Mathieu, you will face new challenges regarding UGC, for example. And the more you will open the platform, the more you will face challenge about what the people gonna create. And perhaps you have like the position of a leader about explaining what could be a good experiences and trying to build a tool like of the game maker for that kind of purpose somehow.
Yes, I think the UGC is a massive opportunity for the Sandbox and more broadly for platforms. If we look back to what platform success has been. And I'm going to talk about YouTube, for example, because I've been working there for a while. What you realize that most successful creators and content are produced by endemic creators of the platform. So
Yeah.
The Mr. Beast of this world were not the MTV of the previous worlds. So I'm sure that the creators which are going the most successful in the sandbox are not going to be the one we know basically in the film industry or in the game industry, but are really going to understand, as you are doing right now, the possibilities of the sandbox, what are the codes, what are the users' needs and desire, and try to answer that by expressing yourself within the platform. So I think definitely it's an opportunity, and we'll see new things evolving and new things created we cannot think about at the moment.
Okay, that's cool that you consider yourself as a chamber of echo about like creativity, and that's quite nice. And I really eager to see what the big player will start to create and to invent. Like I've saw in Fortnite people like trying to invent with a restricted number of I would say of components, different kind of new game and everything. So I'm quite excited to see what kind of game will be
I'm
created.
There is another topic that I find very relevant. It happened recently at BEM Builders. We were requested by big brands to develop not their B2C activity, but their in-house meetings, meetup, board meeting or COMEX. And at first the challenge was like, oh my God, that's going to be so boring. But it happened that it happened, and that's maybe the best example. It happened that through the rules of our manifesto and the way we consider architectures, we made 2 hours of a board meeting or COMEX and CODIR very exciting, because rather than having people around the table, and even rather than having them around a virtual table or through a Zoom or a Meet, we developed an architecture where they had to move from a space to another, go in the water, discover numbers, go in a tree. And at the end, they say, oh my God, that was the most exciting board meeting. So I believe it also helps for all kind of attention and the way. And as you mentioned, Mathieu, your users, based on the statistic of the Alpha 3, spend an average of many minutes, 1 hour and 20 minutes. It's a football game. It's a movie at the cinema. So the attention you drive through a virtual experience, it's huge. And for anything else that requires attention, schools, education, CODIR, board meeting, you can use the virtual architectures the way we see it also as an opportunity. So I think that's also how you can consider the evolution and the
Yeah, and I will add, Neil, like I had a class about like classic architecture, and it was like in a virtual world, and we were jumping on the top of the building, following the masters around, and it was super nice. But I think it couldn't be like shit, but it was really nice because we had a path to follow, and everything was think to let us move around, and everything was designed to take the full potential about moving. And we were jumping about on the column, trying to go on the top of the building, going under, and that was really rich as an experience to learn. And that was the same that when we designed the board meeting, for example.
Yes, maybe 2 comments to add on top. Obviously, the entertaining elements is super important, especially in the educational world that you are mentioning, and that's what Ledger has done in the sense that their strategy is around educating the market around the cryptocurrencies, around the security. So they are doing their strategy around School of Blocks, which is a content series to educate the market around crypto security, and they translate that into an experience where you have to evolve in this world, do quests and things like that. And the more you learn, the more you know around crypto and security, the more you progress within the quests. And at the end, you are maybe not a full master of security in crypto, but at least you have a good sense of what are the drawbacks, the dangers, and how to tackle that. So I think definitely it is going to, and it is already changing the way we learn things through entertainment. And the second remark is, Neal, what you were mentioning around, the comics going together and things like that. I strongly believe that in the near future, and it's already happening, people will join the metaverse, will join those digital worlds, obviously to feel entertained and experience new type of entertainment, but also from a pure social point of view, it would be a way to hang out with friends or colleagues, as you can do, in real life. You will discuss, have chats, and it will be an excuse as you go, to a bar or restaurant. That's an excuse to meet people and to discuss. People will join this type of experience as an excuse just to be together and experience things together. So because it's digital doesn't mean it's not social and you are isolated. I strongly believe that's exactly the opposite. People will join together, will fight together, will interact together even more in the future as we develop more and more features to do that.
Yeah, but thank you guys. I think that's very relevant, and I hope everyone listening is now more clear on how we can play with virtual assets, virtual architectures, and how we need to think through the facilities and the tech specificities of the virtual world, well, rather than doing a mirror, rather than bringing what we know from the physical world to the virtual world. Ben, should we do a quick teaser about the next workshop?
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for those insights, and it's really interesting to get a better sense of why things are moving and why we should have a different eye on how we experience things, and especially for our communities, users, and for those brands. So the next workshop that is actually next week on the 18th of January. I'll just send the link right now if you want to obviously to sign up, hopefully with less issues with the Zoom. And the next episode will be why is the ground design a key element in the metaverse, with a great guest that will actually be part of the ground and the industry. And so it feels that it's quite a weird element. We mentioned the people being seated at desks, etc., and you'll see how important it is within the reasoning of the framework and the reasoning of how we should experience differently the experiences. I just put you in the chat the link. If you want to register for next week, go ahead. It's right in the chat. But obviously, we'll send everything through the Telegram, through the mailings, etc. Thank you very much, Mathieu. Thank you very much, Neal. Thank you very much, Adrien, Quentin, and everyone from BEM Builders. And everyone from Sandbox that joined. It's been a real pleasure. It's just the beginning of a really fun series of workshops, so don't hesitate to join. This session is recorded, so for the members, you will be able to get the replay. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you soon at the Metacircle workshop or roundtables that are coming up.
Thank you so much. That was really nice. And I will just add like a few things. Like we will like talk on a big de-zoom about the metaverse experiences with Mathieu, and we will be a little bit more focused and on the next one. And thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.